Today, AMD chips made by Intel? Intel CPUs are causing games to crash, Ryzen 9950X crushes last gen, and Nvidia just made a huge change. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. First up for today, Intel just said it for all to hear, that they want to make AMD processors. That's right, during this year's IFS Direct Connect event, Intel went over their chip-making foundry, calling it the world's first systems foundry. During the Q&A at the event, Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger was asked a really interesting question by Tom's Hardware, specifically how they would deal with competitors that could potentially beat their own company using their tech. In his answer, he discussed a line between their Intel Foundry and Intel products. Basically, they'll be two separate companies with separate financials, etc. But the interesting part comes later on in his answer, where Pat Gelsinger actually says it. Quote, "We hope that includes Jensen, Cristiano, and Sundar, and you heard today it includes Satya, and I even hope that includes Lisa going forward. I mean, we want to be the foundry for the world." So yeah, that Lisa means Lisa Su of AMD, so we may actually see an AMD chip made by Intel one day. Hopefully this new competition means cheaper processors. Of course, if you're like many and you're sick of all the wild GPU prices, it's time to get your very own dedicated gaming PC for as little as $995 Canadian dollars, which is around $750 USD a month, with today's sponsor, Maximum Settings, the best solution to get the latest PC hardware without spending an arm and a leg. And the best part is that they're not just some server that you're having to share with 20 other people so you can only use 10% of its resources. Instead, Maximum Settings gives you access to your very own bare metal gaming PC. So it's as if you bought your very own PC, but for way less money. You can go in, install your games from Steam, Origin, Epic, and more, and they're saved for when you log off, so you can come right back the next day, just like you could if it was your PC. And they have options all the way up to an RX 7900 XTX with a 7800 X3D, 750 gigabytes of SSD storage, and 4 terabytes of HDD storage. So you can really crank up your settings. And the best part is that it only takes a few minutes to set up. So stop worrying about GPU prices and try out Maximum Settings by visiting the link in the description below. Next up for today, in my last video, I discussed the recent reports of crashes in Unreal Engine games. In that report, a division of Epic Games put the blame squarely on Intel. Well, it looks like we finally have an answer, and they may have been right. In a new report from Tom's Hardware, the CPUs that look to be most affected are the 13900K and 13700K. The new 14-gen parts will likely be affected as well. Surprisingly, even Nvidia has commented on this, claiming that it affects some 13th-gen CPUs, and they even suggested lowering clocks by up to 200 MHz. As for the cause, Tom's Hardware's GPU reviewer found that it has to do with high default power and current limits on some motherboards that allow them to pull effectively unlimited watts. We're talking 4096 watts and 4096 amps. And it doesn't seem to just be the motherboard's fault. The reason is because power limits didn't matter in previous generation Intel CPUs. There are basically rules set that determine how much power it can consume, but that doesn't seem to work as well with the 13900K and presumably others. The weird part is that some 13900Ks don't seem to have this issue, so it may actually be a defect in some parts. One way of fixing this is to set specific power limits in the BIOS, but that's obviously not something regular users will know to do. Ultimately, this looks like a pretty serious issue for Intel that needs to be addressed, to which they did make a statement to Tom's Hardware that they are looking into it. Next up, it looks like AMD's Ryzen 9000 series CPUs are set to be a serious jump in performance, even better than what we originally thought. This story comes from a new tweet by the leaker Swinerski on X. According to an image he shared, more than one person told him that the Cinebench R23 single-thread score is equal to or above 2800, which is right at a whopping 40% performance increase over the 7950X. Of course, this would likely include the IPC speed and clock increase, but a 40% single-core performance increase is wild. Remember that Zen 4 saw up to 29% single-threaded uplift, so this would be even bigger than that. And Red Gaming Tech seems to be hearing some similar things with IPC increases up to and above 30%, and that's just the IPC, so it doesn't include any kind of clock jump. Not only that, but AMD announced that the CEO, Lisa Su, will be delivering the opening keynote at Computex this year in June, and there's a decent chance that AMD plans to announce Ryzen 9000 at that keynote, so AMD's next-gen CPUs could be coming soon with a huge performance boost. And lastly for today, Nvidia just made some massive changes, including new features. Starting things off, GeForce Experience is dead, and taking its place is the new Nvidia app, which just released in beta and completely overhauls not only the user interface, but it even adds some settings from the Nvidia control panel. In fact, according to Nvidia, they plan to slowly move features from the control panel to the Nvidia app until it's actually no more, meaning the over 20-year-old Nvidia control panel is finally being replaced. Not only that, but they actually took out the requirements to log in. It does ask you to, but you don't actually have to, and almost all of its functionality is still available. Besides the new UI, it also adds a new in-game overlay, per-game profile settings, as well as a couple new features. The first being the leaked feature I discussed in a recent video called RTX HDR has been released, and it lets you add HDR to pretty much any game. I'm talking games across DirectX 9, 11, 12, as well as Vulkan. With that said, because it uses AI, it needs Nvidia's Tensor cores to make the magic happen, so it only works on the RTX 20 series and above, and it requires Windows 11. To turn the feature on, you'll have to turn off Windows Auto HDR, the game has to be running in full screen mode, and you can't use dynamic super resolution, Nvidia image scaling, or fast sync. But other than that, as you can see, it can really make a difference in how your game looks. Not only that, but Nvidia also added something called Dynamic Vibrance. This feature essentially makes your game more colorful and just pop more. It's actually a new version of the same name that was available with Nvidia Freestyle, but this time it uses AI. Ultimately, this is a big change from Nvidia, and they have even more features on the way. So while that does it for today, what do you think about this new Nvidia app? And are you pumped for Ryzen 9000? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to check out maximum settings down in the description below. And as always, have a great day.